So whatever that looks like in your business, whatever that looks like in your organization, know that not everyone is going to see things the way you do all the time, and that's fine. But if there's certain things that require a certain amount of parameters in which to make decisions, if you can provide that to your employees, that makes your job easier.
The thing I realized, and we've talked about this honestly towards the beginning of our podcast, that I wasn't properly training them. I was just getting more involved and almost to the point where I was having the employees rely on me.
All right, welcome back to another episode of FIP Printing Pros. I am Chris Lockwood here with Josh Dynison, and today we have an excellent topic for you. We're going to be talking about the leadership trap and basically why your business might fail if you try and do it all. Now, For all of you single operator, owner operator, it's just me, there's nobody else, I'm talking to you too.
I mean, yeah. You can always outsource stuff.
You can outsource things. So, but let's get into this. Let's talk a little bit about what that means. Why your business might fail or struggle, or even if your business is successful, why you, as the head of this organization, or even a middle manager or whatever, why you're making your life harder.
Yeah.
Right. And it comes down to a lot of different things, but there's a couple of things in general I think we need to hit on, and it's number one, thinking you got all the answers.
Yeah.
That's a huge one.
Yep.
And then number two, there's more valuable things you can be spending your time doing.
Correct.
So why don't you tell everybody just kind of, what you were doing before I came on board, and what were some of the major things that I pointed out to you and that we've made changes on in the last almost year now.
So I would say the hard part for me is I'm a very hands-on owner. Mm-hmm. So I like to really be involved with a lot of things. And I had to, I wouldn't say I was a micromanager by any means.
No, not at all.
Not to that level. But I just like to be a part of the process, being in the things, making sure everything's happening the way it's supposed to, like the customer's gonna be happy at the end, checking quality, things that my people are supposed to be doing, but I'm just like kind of almost double checking some things just because I also I like certain quality to go out and things like that. And also I was just getting more involved and almost to the point where I was having the employees rely on me for answers, instead of basically, which I had taught them in some ways, but I think I really in the last year really tried to push them more. And the thing I realized, and we've talked about this honestly towards the beginning of our podcast, where I had to take accountability of that I wasn't properly training them, because I was sometimes would get frustrated because they would come to me with all the questions, but then I had to take ownership of okay, I'm not training them enough to understand the way I want things done, and then two, I'm also I've kind of made that a thing, to where they are coming to me and asking for the answers, because whether that be I don't have a spreadsheet to make it easy for them to know at this quantity, at this thing, this is what to do type of thing. Yeah. And I'm having to be too involved because of that, because I've made it more difficult for them to be able to do this on their own. Yeah. So that was one of the biggest things is one, I had to realize okay, I gotta give them ability to easily not have to get me involved to do things, especially what I'm doing here. I'm doing more things where I'm getting out of the office, coming to do these podcasts, I'm getting out, meeting clients, I'm doing whatever the case may be, doing different things like that. That doesn't allow me to be in the office as much to where I'm as accessible as I used to be. So I had to provide them different things, spreadsheets, easy guides to know, and also just verbally teaching them how I would do certain things on these certain situations. Yeah. And even when new things come up that I haven't maybe talked with them about, I kind of tell them how I would handle this, and to keep that in mind for future reference if anything like this similar comes up.
So let's break down a few things right there. So let's talk about the quality control aspect, because there's a very fine line that as a business owner you have to walk, right? So yes, you need to be concerned about the quality of things that are leaving your shop, right? But there also has to be a level of trust put into your employees that they are doing what they're supposed to do. And so finding that balance, I think is super important. And I think there's a couple of different ways to go about doing that. Number one, you can just spot check some things and not say before anything leaves, I need to see it to inspect it, right?
Because I was never that bad.
Oh yeah, no. But I'm just speaking in general for other people who are out there. You know, they might say, well, I need to look at everything before it goes out. Now, initially, if you're implementing a new process or a new product, or you're training a new employee, yes, absolutely check everything that happens. No doubt about it. But at some point, you have to give that trust that they're doing the right thing and sending out good products. And you're going to know about that in the feedback you get from customers, right? Now, with that being said, it's still not a bad idea to every now and then kind of walk around and go, that looks pretty nice right there. I like what you're doing.
Yeah.
So, but, and did you see what I did right there? I provided that, that looks nice. I like what you're doing. That sounds more like I'm looking for a reason to give you a compliment than I'm looking to go, ooh.
Yeah.
Okay, you got it right this time.
Yeah.
Hopefully you get it right next time, right? So
exactly.
There's a subtle difference in doing that. So I think that's really super important to kind of understand and find the difference. Because I've seen some managers that they're like, nope, before you do anything, you need to send it to me so that I can approve it.
Yeah.
If that's the case, I don't have employees that are willing to go above and beyond for the customer. At that point, I have employees who are just trying to do enough so that it passes my inspection and they can move on to the next task.
Yep.
You want people that are trying to go above and beyond. I've seen conversations in the graphic design section, and the level of detail that they look at and care that they put into things. And then I've also seen that out on the production side where it's like, oh my God, I was on page 136 of this 300-page book, and I found a typo.
Yeah.
And it's like, I would have never found that.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
But because of what you have placed the importance on, they place the importance on it, but they also know that you trust them to look for and see those things. And in some cases, they're better at it than we are.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I think that was one thing that definitely for sure you were involved in a lot. And I think that's okay. It wasn't a micromanaging, but I think it did create that atmosphere to where now people don't have to think because they can rely on you to come and tell them how to do whatever.
Yep.
And so you being able to get out and go and see customers and do those things really helped change a lot. So that's number one. The other thing that you mentioned is about having the procedures in place or having the cheat sheets in place.
Yep.
So that they can more easily make decisions. So whatever that looks like in your business, whatever it looks like in your organization, know that not everyone is going to see things the way you do all the time, and that's fine.
Yep.
But if there's certain things that require a certain amount of output or parameters in which to make decisions, if you can provide that to your employees, that makes your job easier because now you can go focus on other things. And to give a very rough example, what we're talking about here, let's just say you needed to print a booklet, right? And the booklet was 10 pages long. It was printed on front and back. It was color, and you needed 500 copies. Well, based on all of those metrics, determines which printer it gets printed on. But they would have to come and ask, hey, boss, where should we print this at? Well, then because you know in your head, well, it's 10 pages, it's in color, it's front and back, and I need 500 copies.
That's how many impressions.
Right.
That goes here.
Then it goes here.
Yep.
And you have all that knowledge in your head, putting it on a piece of paper. Now they don't have to come and ask. Now they can go, 10, 5, color, boop, 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 boop. Oh, that's where it gets printed. that just saved you a 3-minute conversation. And if you have that 3-minute conversation 20 times a day, that it starts to add up after a while.
Well, and that was the other thing too, is I had to realize a little bit too. I am the type of person that can like run numbers in my head like super quickly and do that. It's one of the few skills I have. but
Well, it's the same way as the graphic designer being able to tell the difference between a black and a black.
Yeah,
And we can't.
A 4-color black or a regular black.
Yeah, I don't even know what that means. So,
I didn't understand the same thing. So everybody's got their like design thing, their skill or whatever it is that they're really good at. That is one of the I'm good at, and I can't expect other people to be just quickly run that in their head too. So that's why I put it out on paper, because when I would say, "Oh yeah, that's super simple. It's this," and they're like, "Ooh, that wasn't super simple to me," So I'm like, "Okay, all right, you're right. That's all right. Let me put that out." And again, that's accountability for your leadership, of understanding that just because it's easy for you doesn't always mean it's easy for everybody.
Exactly.
Or if it's easier for that guy or girl, it's not necessarily easy for that guy or girl, So you have to always kind of keep that in mind. And again, like we just talked on the last podcast, is knowing your employees, and knowing what their strengths, weaknesses, or things they love, don't love, what all those different things, so that you can know how to best give them the ability to be as successful as possible in the company. But yeah, that's basically.
Yeah, here's another big leadership trap, and parents listen to this. We have a problem. We heard this right before we started recording today. My son is here with us in the studio, and he said, "We have a problem. My headphones are dead." I said, "No, we don't have a problem. You have a problem. How are you going to solve it?" The reason that's such a leadership trap is employees will come to you with a problem that is not your problem. It's their problem to solve, or at least come to you with possible solutions. That's why I used to always tell my soldiers all the time. I would tell them, look, if you're going to come to me and complain, you got 5 minutes. But don't come without a recommendation or a solution, because if not, it's just a complaint, and I'm not going to fix your problems for you, because I promise you won't like the way I fix them. So, as a leader, don't fall into the trap to thinking that you have to solve all of your employees' problems or all of the problems that happen in the company, because number one, you probably have bigger problems you have to worry about, things that they have no clue that's going on.
Yeah.
And then number two, it's probably in the grand scheme of things something that they should be able to solve, but have you given them the, number one, the tools, number two, the authority to solve that problem?
Yep.
Just for example, if a customer calls us like, "Hey, I want, a certain weight of paper, a certain style of paper, whatever," and it's something we don't have, then whose problem is that to solve? Well, it goes back to whoever initially talked to that account and says, "Hey, customer, sorry, we don't have this, but here's an alternative for you." So they shouldn't have to come to you as the boss or as the leadership and say, "Oh, what do we do? Oh my God, we don't have this paper, we can't get it, and this is what they want." That's easy for someone else to solve. So don't fall into that trap that you think you have to be the master problem solver.
Yep.
You should always require your employees to come to you with recommendations, and understand that there is a difference between the problem solver and the decision maker. Huge difference in the two.
Correct. Yeah.
Right? I will make the decision when you come and you present me with the potential solutions. That's your job as an employee. That's your job as a manager. That's your job is whatever, is to bring me if the decision is at my level. Now, last thing on that is you also have to establish where decisions are made. And I'll give you an example just simply based on our short-term rental that we have. We have a property manager, and he has a threshold, a very clear threshold where he makes the decision on what gets done, and then anything above that, and it's a price point. It's $250. If it's a $250 fix, not to exceed $500 for 2 different fixes in a single month, then he just fixes it and we don't worry about it. The money will get taken out at the end of the month. I get paid and everybody's good. Now, if we have a $250 fix on the 1st, a $250 fix on the 15th, and another one comes up on the 25th, now I get a phone call because it's crossed that threshold. So establishing that threshold will keep you out of that leadership trap of having to make all of the decisions, having to solve all the problems and all those kind of things.
Yep, I agree. One of the things that kind of goes with a little bit of what we're kind of talking about, but I think it kind of ties into more, is the power of saying no.
Yes.
And some of that is, like you said, not necessarily telling them no, but like giving them better direction on how they can handle things on their own. And thankfully, again, my staff is like, I don't really have too much of the issues with, them trying not to handle things on their own for the most part now. And even before, I think it was more so, there was a difference. They had no ownership for 10, 11 years. And then I came on site and I changed a lot of things of how things were being done. And so they had to learn me. And so that took some time for them to learn how I wanted things done compared to maybe how they had been doing things for several years. So that was a different circumstances. But with the power of like no also goes along with when I did come there, because there was no ownership on site or in the community, I tried to take on a lot.
Yeah.
Because I tried to be to every chamber of commerce event, like ribbon cutting, everything like that. So I'm bouncing around. Then I got on the board for Boys and Girls Club. Then I was trying to get over here on a board over here. Then I joined a nonprofit. Then I was trying to really, which I do enjoy that stuff. I really do, because I love helping people. I love, being a part of the community and things like that. But then obviously, with the struggles we've had in the last couple of years, with inflation and all that kind of stuff, and the loan and all that kind of stuff I've talked about, that I had to really take a full step back and say no to a lot of these things that I was doing, so that I could fully hone in and focus on the business. Even, we partnered up on some, real estate investing deals, on RV parks and mobile home parks. But I had to even pull myself away from that, which I hated. Like I want to invest so I can eventually, have that freedom of like, I've got, passive income coming in. That's my ultimate goal.
Yeah.
But I had to pull myself away from that because I had to prioritize. I had to realize I had to say no to a lot of things so I could focus on first impressions printing only. I had to sell off my Nebraska company because as much as I wanted to keep that company going so I could have multiple companies going, but me not being there, being able to affect it like I could, it was not, doing as well as I would have liked it to. And that was hard for me, being pulled in two different directions when I'm multiple states away. So again, I had to sell that off so that I could focus here. So a lot of times I think as a business owner, the saying no or stop doing this, stop doing that is more powerful than just being the yes man or woman and trying to do everything. So that you can try to put your name out there or whatever the case may be.
Yeah. And I'm going to tell you another leadership trap is misplaced loyalty. Now, that's going to sound a little strange to some people, but you have to, and this goes back to, having the, knowing your employees and all that kind of stuff. Especially as a true leader, someone who truly wants to lead people and make them better while improving the organization. If you have someone that doesn't fit into that, cutting them loose, as hard as that is sometimes. Or saying goodbye to people that it's time for them to leave. They decide to leave. I've seen it so many times that people try to talk them into, oh, please stay. We need do. But, having that misplaced loyalty in that individual over your business can be another leadership trap that people can fall into.
Yeah.
And I've seen it, just in customer service in fast food or clothing retail or something like that, when there's someone there that just, they don't have a good attitude, but you need that warm body, and so you put up with it.
Yeah.
That's a leadership trap.
Yeah.
And you got to figure out how to get out of that.
Well, and I think that's where you have to go from like being more hands-on to being a leader. And that's and honestly, that's the only way to grow your company to another level because like you said, solo entrepreneurs and things like that. Some businesses that works and you can just be a solo entrepreneur. But if you really want to grow and expand, you can't do it on your own most of the time. You need your people. And the only way for you to do that is to lead and grow people. You're not going to be able to grow it by constantly trying to do everything yourself. You need people underneath you, teaching them your knowledge, letting them also bring their knowledge, and together working it together, and then growing from there.
Yep. Even if you are a solo act, there's still ways that you can outsource your social media, outsource your marketing. All those different things you can find other people, and it doesn't have to cost a ton.
Nope.
But even if it does, say it does cost a ton, say it costs you $5,000 a month, but because you're not having to do those tasks, you can now make $10,000 a month. Mm-hmm. Like that's worth lowering your stress and your having to do all of these different things. Now that doesn't mean go out there and go crazy. And if you don't need 100 people, don't hire 100 people. But if you could just have those one or two that take those other tasks off your plate that you don't like to do, now you can focus on growing your business. But don't forget to lead those people that you brought on to help you out.
One of the first things I did was bookkeeper / CPA,
Yeah.
Then it was an IT specialist. So when I have computer issues, I don't have to sit here and try to fix it myself. I just like, hey.
Go to YouTube. My computer won't work. What do I do?
Yeah. And then, just lots of other things. And even within our industry, we do have a lot of partners and vendors we work with and things like that you have to outsource all that kind of stuff. Even recently, what we're trying to do with the website, pull all this data and look at our competitors online, what they're spending on all the different products and put it into a spreadsheet so that I can properly make sure we're pricing properly. We tried to see if ChatGPT help us,
Yeah,
but
that was a big failure.
But unfortunately,
that's tried Fiverr, another failure.
Yeah, try Fiverr, another failure. But then I found a local VA that's USA based, things like that, that they actually were able to do it. I got it literally yesterday. And
that was 2 weeks?
Not even that? Right around there, something like that. And it was a lot. So definitely, that was very helpful for me because it would have taken up so much of my time that I need to be focusing on other things to do such a mundane, well, it is mundane. It's very mundane task. Click here, drop down. Now put it in the spreadsheet, what that cost is. Now next thing, it was a bunch of a lot of data entry and going through the websites and seeing what they have. So doing that, handing that off, things like that, similar to that are very important to get it off your plate. And then one of the other things I think though that with you trying to do everything is you get a burnout. Yeah.
For sure.
Not everybody. I mean, some people are just crazy, like maybe a David Goggins or something like that. But for the most part, at some point you're going to hit a wall if you try to do everything yourself. You're just overwhelming yourself constantly by just trying to do everything. And there's a time and place for it. When my Nebraska business I first had, I was working, which I'll talk about in our next podcast if we talk about where, where working hard isn't always actually really coming to fruition of something.
Yeah.
But in this case, it actually was something that was needed for the company. I was the sales rep, so I was out selling 8 to 5, and then I would come home 5 to 10 or whatever, sometimes later, sometimes a little earlier, push out quotes to customers. So, I was working a lot of hours, weekends, things like that, it was a lot. Yeah. And I would feel overwhelmed sometimes, but it was a necessary evil at the time. That I needed to do that for the company in order to grow, and it was working. It was working really well. So I'm not saying that there isn't a time or place to overstack yourself and do things, because sometimes it is needed. Or even when we are busy, instead of me hiring a new person, because we go through ebbs and flows of super busy and then slow, super busy and then slow. And so instead of me hiring somebody, where it's a consistent, salary every single month, well, I'll just work harder and more hours during the busy times, and if I need to, rather than having them twiddling their fingers during the slow times because there's not much for them to do,
Yeah.
So that's just my thought process on that.
Yeah, with that, there's one more leadership trap that I got on my mind, and that is thinking that as the leader you have all the answers. That was I saw that a lot in the Army. The leadership thought they knew best, but the problem is they didn't even know the question to ask.
Yeah.
And what I found to be the most effective thing, and again, this is not who makes the final decision.
Yeah.
This is talking about what is the problem and figuring out what the answer is so that a decision can be made. As the leader, you have your own experience,
Yep.
your own ideas, your own thoughts, and sometimes we're too close to it or sometimes too far away from it to actually see what the reality is. So I think it's important to humble yourself and understand that. And then ask, present what you see are the factors or what you see as the problem. Or if your employee has a problem, have them, what do you see as the problem? What do you see is the situation here? And then, get that input from everyone. Don't, and you're really good at this. I've seen you do it. You'll listen to everyone. And then once you have all of the input, then make a decision. But don't fall into the trap of, number one, having to be the person with all the answers.
Yeah.
Because that's just simply, if you're the person with all the answers, you probably need to get better people around you.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to be able to solve it all, right?
Yep.
There's only one Elon Musk in this world, and I promise you, he has plenty of people around him that are giving him advice and helping him make those decisions,
Yeah.
right? And he's doing it for 5 massive companies.
Yep.
But he's not a brain surgeon. So for his Neuralink company, he's not the one, deciding where to put the chip and how to program and all that kind of stuff. He drives the company. He has scientists that do that. It's any leadership position is like that. You don't have to have, and you won't have all of the answers.
Yeah, I think that I prefer as a leader to have people who bring things to me and I could be like, yep, I like that one.
Yeah.
I like that idea or something like that. Let's do that. Sometimes, but that's you have to be saying, I don't like any of those ideas, So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And all of those ideas are great ideas. We need a better one.
Yep. But I do love having people in certain positions that are an expert or learn to be an expert in that particular thing they're doing, so that I can lean on them. So like my graphic designer, I lean on her all the time for just anything design-wise, because it's not my world. But I want to understand it when she's explaining it to me, so I could be like, yeah, I like that. Let's do that. Or what we just had was we're trying to develop a way to kiss cut with one of our cutter machines that we have, so we can do like kiss cut stickers, which is you got the outer ring and then just easy peel off type thing for the sticker.
So it doesn't peel the back. It just cuts doesn't peel the back paper. Doesn't cut
Yeah.
that.
Instead of die cutting it where it's flush with the thing, it's got a little easy peel. When we first were trying it, it was like sticking on one corner every time, and I kept telling him we couldn't figure it out. I was like, let's figure it out. I know there's a way, and he found a solution where it was actually the issue was the bedding he didn't even realize when we got it installed, they didn't even install it properly. One section of the bed, when he pulled the side cover off and everything like that, wasn't even fully locked
So
in.
it wasn't even the process.
It was the vacuum.
It was a mechanical thing.
Yeah,
That was wrong. Yeah.
It wasn't vacuuming properly to seal that down to where it could properly do what it needs to do on the cutting side. And so little things like that, because he looked into it more and figured that out. And then as well as we also had another issue, same thing, on the cutter where any tiny, like small signs that we would do, especially when we have to route it out for metal, when we would get to the last spot, because it was the router's thicker, as soon as it got to that last spot, it kind of twisted and it would leave a little like.
Is that for those corners? Mm-hmm. I remember that was the issue with round corners, yeah.
Yeah. Well, not even just round corners, but square ones.
Squares, okay.
We just, actually was just earlier, end of last week or beginning of this week, so you probably haven't heard this part of it, but it was a special mat he found that it's not sticky, but it sticks better, so that when that last piece hits, it doesn't move. It sticks to the mat better.
Yeah, because so everyone understands, it's like when you're to have a piece of paper and you're cutting out, say, a square. Well, by the time you've cut 3.5 sides of that square, you're not connected to the whole piece of paper anymore.
Yeah.
So as you cut that last little bit, that's when that paper will tend to shift. That's what's happening.
And on our larger,
but on a large scale,
on our larger signs, it's not a big deal because there's enough mass for the suction down that that last corner isn't going to move. But when it's a small piece, it doesn't have enough weight to it that when it hits that last piece, it wanted to twist.
Yeah.
So now with that extra thing, he figured out and got that. But again, that goes to show you that if you can, because again, I didn't have time to research that. I hadn't figured that out. And also, he has way more knowledge on that stuff than I do. So his knowledge of the things, as well as his time, he could try to do some research and figure that out. It was that was super helpful to me.
Yeah, I think what that comes down to is leaders don't have to know, and they shouldn't have all the answers, but they do need to have all the questions.
Correct.
And
sometimes it's not accepting that there's no way to get it done.
I used to tell my soldiers that all the time. If I would say, "Hey, how can we need to do this?" Oh, we can't. Look,
somebody does it, so there's a way.
Don't tell me don't tell me why we can't. Tell me how we can.
Yeah.
And that was kind of my mantra. Is like, don't tell me why we can't. Just tell me how we can. Well, if we could do it, this is what we do. Okay, good. Now go do that. Right. So it's having the questions. I think it's way more important now that I should write a book on that. Leaders need to know the questions, but they don't need to know the answers.
Yeah. And
that sends a powerful message to your subordinates, to your employees, that and I don't want anyone to think there's like, oh, well, the leader should know a lot of things. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying be a dumbass. Yeah. I'm just saying you don't have to be the one that answers every question.
Yeah.
But you need to be the one that's asking the right questions. Because I want my people to think. I want them to come up with solutions. I don't want to have to be the one that drives that. There's a couple of reasons behind that. Number one, if I got to answer all the questions, I don't need most of y'all other than just pure labor.
Yeah.
So I don't need you for anything else. And that's a boring workplace.
Yeah.
And it's stressful on me. And then number two, I want to show them, I want them to be able to grow within their field or within their area of expertise, because that's how you continue to have happy employees.
Yep.
Even the employee that only wants to focus on their job, that's fine. They don't need to go outside of that scope. But if there's a problem in your job, you need to be the one to figure that out.
Correct. Yeah. So. That's a good way to end it on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So just remember, don't always have to do it alone. Make sure you use your people wisely. The only way for you to grow is by having a team around you and leading them properly in order to grow to that level. If you got any comments, questions, make sure to subscribe, like, and would love to have you back again on the podcast and watch us. Until next time, let's grow together.
It's time to step up, yeah, it's grind time, no more letting up, no, running faster, further, no more running up, yeah, giving my all, no more giving up, listen to me, stand.